This is about those in Washington stop spending us into oblivion. They're continually piling on more unsustainable debt because the best way to fundamentally transform America is to collapse it first. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and let me tell you something. The first step to recovery is admitting that we have a problem. Hello, my name is America, and we have a problem.
Hello, America, and welcome to a very special week on the Glenn Beck Program. I'm Judge Andrew Napolitano. Glenn is on vacation, but don't worry. You'll still be seeing a lot of him this week as we bring you an up-to-date on what he's been covering all year. A crash course in Beck studies. Now, many of you watch this program religiously, and some of you may catch it every once in a while. Others have just tuned in for the first time tonight. We've got something for everyone this week, including special guests, special commentary, my thoughts, and a whole lot more. So let's kick it off with tonight's portion of the back-to-school crash course. It's Labor Day, so it's fitting to start with our economy and the colossal threats to it. Glenn takes it away, and make sure to keep an eye out for someone else popping up this hour.
Let me introduce you to the people who you would say are fundamentally responsible for the unsustainability and possible collapse of our economic system. There are really two people I've been telling you for a while. There they are. Cloward and Piven. Richard Cloward, Francis Fox Piven. They are authors of the Cloward-Piven strategy. Something else to remember is that this isn't some conspiracy theory that we're tossing out here. They wrote about collapsing the economy and how they plan to do it in an article they co-authored in the 1960s, Mobilizing the Poor, How It Could Be Done. 6 months later, published in The Nation under the title, The Weight of the Poor, a Strategy to End Poverty. Well, what is this strategy and who's involved? Well, do you remember on this program over the summer, the tree? Watch this. The roots of the tree of radicalism and revolution. It's Saul Alinsky. It's Woodrow Wilson. That's how it's all made legitimate. It's progressive. Here are the roots. Here's SDS. This is for that democratic society. Cloward and Piven come in and say, wait a minute, hang on just a second. What we should do is collapse the system on its own weight. Cloward and Piven, they're using the same tactics. Fear and intimidation of SDS. Cloward, Piven, overwhelm the system. And look who the president has. Wade Rathke, right up the tree. Dale, right up the tree. Bill Ayers, right up the tree. Jeff Jones, right up the tree. Okay. Cloward and Piven had a split. They were radical Columbia professors in the 1960s who believed in change and social justice. They were inspired by the riots in Los Angeles in 1965, and they wrote and published their article which outlined the best way to bring the type of Saul Alinsky social change to America. In their estimation, back in the 60s, overwhelmed the system. But SDS, they had radicals, and they said, no, we want to bomb things. They said, no, do it the smart way. Overwhelm the system and bring about the fall of capitalism by overloading the government bureaucracy with impossible demands and bring on economic collapse. Cloward and Piven instructed their activists that if a crisis didn't exist, think of this, promote or manufacture one by exaggerating some unthreatening predicament. Does healthcare come to mind, where we've got doctors pulling out tonsils and cutting off patients' feet? Really? How about global warming? Well, their methods have worked for years. From 1965 through 1974, due to the strategy and effort of Cloward and Piven and their followers, the total recipients on welfare rocketed from 4.3 million people to 10.8 million. In 1975, there were nearly 1 million welfare recipients in New York City alone. Americans became horrified with the welfare state situation. As a result, Cloward and Piven and their devotees figured it out. They needed to be in the system. Well, we've shown you how they've done that. Here we go. Apollo Alliance, which he is the head of here in New York. So here it is, the stimulus bill. I'm outlining earlier this summer, the stimulus bill was written in large part by the Apollo Alliance. Who's on the board of the Apollo Alliance? Well, one of the alums is Van Jones. In New York, the Apollo Alliance is headed by this guy. Jeff Jones. Yeah, that's his mugshot there and his fingerprints. He is a partner for Bill Ayers. Why does he have a mugshot? Because their group, the Weather Underground, was bombing the United States. Got it? By the way, Bill Ayers, that's the guy who's in his living room, Barack Obama launched his political career in Chicago. Now, we've also shown you that George Soros is a source of funding for many of these radical groups, and that Soros and Jeff Jones went to one of the poorest sections in New York just recently and gave away hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of your tax dollars, stimulus money, gave it out. We've shown you the Acorn connections. These community organizers are receiving untold billions in your money despite massive voter registration fraud and corruption. Still, Congress will not turn off the spigot for more than about 60 days. Does it sound like somebody's trying to overload the system yet?
I'm Ben Stein. I understand the theory that Glenn often talks about a group of far leftists trying to overburden the economy so that it collapses. And you know something? I think they're too stupid about the economy to realize that it's going to overburden the economy. They think of the economy as just an unending gusher of money.
This is a rich country. We have plenty of money. There's plenty of money out there. There's plenty of money out there. The question is, how are we going to spend it?
Unending gusher of money.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
How did that not send a chill down our spines? Now, reconsider what this means now, how important that is. This health care bill is the transformation he was talking about. It's the beginning. It's the beginning. History will equate this as big as the New Deal or Pearl Harbor. And if you think that's overstating the importance, remember we are talking about 1/6 of the U.S. economy.
Now, you keep on repeating the notion that it's 1/6 of the economy. Yes, it's 1/6 of the economy, but we're not transforming 1/6 of the economy all in one fell swoop.
All in one fell swoop. An amazing moment of honesty from the president. Just as he promised, it will be gradual.
I believe that not just politically but also economically, it's better for us to start getting a system in place, a universal health care system, signed into law by the end of my first term as president, and build off that system to further, to make it more rational. By the way, Canada did not start off immediately with a single-payer system. They had a similar transition step.
Transitioning a system is a very difficult and costly and lengthy enterprise. It's not like you can turn on a switch and you go from one system to another.
I mean, America, let me ask you this question. How do the CBO numbers even make any difference? You know, only $954 billion. Oh, whoa, that's a party in my pants. Thank you for sending that one by. How does that make a difference? The New York Times said that every major part of this health bill is about redistribution of wealth. Did you see that? Yet, when we were on the air saying that this is about redistribution of wealth, this isn't about health care, this is about changing money, taking it from the rich and giving it to the poor, we were mocked and called crazy. Now the New York Times says that. We have the senator from Montana also saying that this is redistributive change. That's what this health care is about. The other story that came out today is about 2020. 2020. Every dollar, every tax dollar will be eaten up by Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the interest on the debt. Every tax dollar that we currently bring in, that's 10 years from now. Is there anybody here that thinks that, and when you say these people, were you referring to the Republicans and the Democrats, or just both of them?
Well, both of them, but it's really gotten out of hand lately. I mean, the Democrats complain loudly about George W. Bush's, $500 billion deficit, and they get in office and they promptly quadruple it.
We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Now, let's open up the health care bill. Who doesn't like a good surprise or two? I mean, besides me, or maybe you, especially when it comes to our country. It doesn't take a genius to realize the reason why Nancy Pelosi wouldn't want anybody to know what's in the bill, and they'd just be like, just pass it, just pass it. You notice they didn't have it until like 24 hours before it was passed. Why? Why would you do that? Because you knew if you understood, that was creepy, wasn't it? Yes. You knew if people understood it, they wouldn't want it. If it was so great, they would want you to see every single page. Look at this page. This one's even better. And this one, they would have taken 2,400 days. And every day showed you how great this was. Instead, they rushed it through on a weekend. The president even said 5 days before, I don't even know what's in this bill yet. If it was so great, they wouldn't have to have bribed their own members in their own party. The bill is not great. It's really far from great. But it's now ours. And they had to be deceptive for us to get past it.
And Ben Stein. It's worse than that. It's what it is. It's a huge millstone around the neck of American employers and a huge millstone around the neck of American hospitals and doctors, and it's going to wreck the healthcare system and make it impossible for people to get healthcare. Why couldn't they just give people a check to buy private health insurance? Instead, they have this huge, giant weight weighing down the American economy.
I want to tell you about another major reform about to get jammed down your throat. You excited? Oh, it's the financial reform bill. I'm giddy because all those greedy Wall Street fat cats need to be stopped, and this will do it. No, it won't. No, it won't. It will only make things much, much worse, and on a global scale. You know who's in charge of this? This is so great. We got Barney Frank now putting the final touches on the bill. I love Barney Frank and Chris Dodd, too. There they are. I have complete confidence in Chris Dodd and Barney Frank. They finally ensured that there'll never be a recession again and all the bad guys are going to be scooped up. Yeah. Can we put these guys together? I morphed them because I don't think these are separate people. I think they're this guy. Frank and Dodd. Oh! We're creating a monster in Washington, and that's what it is, Frank and Dodd. And the monster is out again. Grab your torch. Bring out the monster! How much debate has there been on this financial bill? How much talk on cable news? How much talk on talk radio? You see people going to town halls to talk about the financial bill? No, because it's all about the evil bankers. This is a 1,500-page bill. Do you really think that these clowns in Washington, I'm sorry, I'm not going to call them clowns anymore, these monsters that are doing this to us, do you really believe that this bill is a benevolent, powerless, meaningless stack of paper that's only going to protect you? Now, here's what's coming in the financial bill. First and foremost, does nothing to address the problem of Fannie and Freddie. No regulation on Fannie and Freddie. Fannie and Freddie helped create the housing mess. Then they needed a $125 billion bailout, which they haven't even scratched the surface on paying back yet. There's nobody looking into Fannie and Freddie. This is a financial bill. It also creates a special protected class that is too big to fail. Gee. It's in Section 113. A Financial Stability Oversight Council will be established, which will choose the firms deemed too big to fail. Can you think of any other firms that maybe were a little reckless because they didn't care if they failed, because they knew they would be bailed out by the government? Can you think of maybe two firms? So not only is this bill not doing anything to stop Fannie and Freddie, as they continue to lose hundreds of billions of dollars of your money, this bill is actually going to create the protected class of Fannie and Freddie and make more. Here's where it gets really good, though. It provides for seizure of private property without meaningful judicial review. How does this happen? Well, the trusted Secretary of the Treasury can order the seizure of any financial firm that he finds in danger of default that would hurt the country's economy. Again, a bureaucrat arbitrarily getting to make that distinction. This bill also creates a new Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection, just to protect you, protect consumers. This bureau will have broad powers to limit what financial products and services can be offered to consumers. That's weird. As I say that, I think of Anthony Weiner. You remember the Congressman Anthony Weiner trying to protect consumers from Goldline? Yeah. Wow. Go to wienerfacts.com for more on that. So, it's supposed to help you, but here's what it will do. Reduce choices and likely make credit more expensive and harder to get. It also allows them, you're going to love this, to track consumer transactions. So now they can just track your credit card, baby. Isn't that great? You can, but only to protect you. Non-financial firms will be subject to financial regulations. Listen again. Listen again how broad this section is. It's section 102, and it defines a non-bank financial company as a company substantially engaged in activities in the United States that are financial in nature. Tell me the companies that aren't financial in nature. Bakery? Sure, they're making cupcakes and bread, but in the end, isn't that financial in nature, Your Honor? They're making sure this bill is jammed down America's throat and finished. This is the date that they've set for themselves. They're going to vote on it tomorrow. There are dates in this country that will live in infamy. Black Tuesday, October 29th, 1929. Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. September 11th, 2001. And now I believe you can add July 21st, 2010 to this list. This will be the day that will be remembered as the day that the final nail in the Republic was pounded into the coffin. President Obama signed the financial reform bill today.
I'm Ben Stein. The whole problem with financial activities is fraud, and we already had lots of laws on the books about fraud. If we could just enforce the laws that are already on the books, we wouldn't need this whole giant Rube Goldberg contraption of new regulations and new agencies. So what do we need it for? Just to employ more of his friends in the Service Employees International Union, I guess.
Democrats are still patting themselves on the back for passing that bill, a measure that's going to destroy jobs and destroy our economy even further. 2,300 pages in that legislation. And the Congressional Research Office recently reported that it will create so many boards and offices and new organizations in the government, it is, quote, impossible to determine from reading the bill just how many of these will be created. How can we have a law when the people charged with enforcing it can't even understand it? All right, up next, the economic impact from the government's horrific takeover of General Motors.